Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sara, and my guest here today is Shahiroz Walji. We've known each other for a very, very long time, and it's actually interesting because 10 years ago, she did an interview for me at her Astral Connections, which we're going to be talking about those Astral Connections today. And it was a cafe that she had at the time, and she interviewed me. And it's one of the few interviews I've had where I really felt that I was being heard and being spoken to and being asked the right questions. And I listened back to it the other day, and although my hair is blonde and I look younger, the content of what I was saying is still what I say today. It's, so you brought out that truth and authenticity in me, and we've just done another show as well on your network. But it's delighted to have you back here as well. So you kind of describe yourself as a geek. You were into metaphysics from a very, very young age. Lots of reading, lots of research, and you kind of let go of your education to start the writing of your passions. And eventually it was a force that just propelled you forward to leading you to Astral Connections Cafe. And then that, kind of shifted and went into a different directions, and you are now involved. You became Young Living, NLP, Reiki, theater, healing, hypnotherapy, mediumship, crystals, crystal healing, emotional code, matrix, energetics, various advisors, other modalities. In other words, quite qualified in doing what you're doing. And and now you've aligned your astral connections with David Sarita and the Light Stream, and you head up the Department of Technologies there, and we'll find out more about him and the work that you're doing there as well. But to say that you are actually immersed in what you're doing and what those astral connections are, because they are connections in so many different ways, aren't they? Welcome to the show, love.
Absolutely. So when we talk about connections, I mean, we experience connections all through our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
With our family, with our faith, with our loved ones. And then there's this other connection, the connection to the unknown, the connection to spirit, the connection to another world, we can call it. And in my life journey, it seems something's being something's been there to lead me at every step of the way, whether it's as a 10-year-old with the death of my grandmother, whether it's in my teens I had a seizure, and that opened up seeing auras and other such
Mm-hmm.
clairs in my life. And then life situations, financial breakdowns, marital breakdowns, that kind of, that 2x4 that
Mm-hmm.
you get
Mm-hmm.
that, you got to change your life, girl. Something's not right, and something's got to change.
Yeah.
And then you go on that search for the unknown. And then that search for the unknown leads you into all kinds of messes, first of all, before you find love and light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and even finding that love and light is a process. It's not a one-time
No.
thing. You're always in that search, and you're always being drawn into different directions that you're feeling led into as
Mm.
well.
And you have to allow yourself to go into as well. It's not a manual. I think this is where a lot of people have a problem in kind of embracing spirituality per se, is
Right.
because it is a trust. It is an allowing. It is that faith of believing and trusting that cosmic energy. And you
Correct.
don't need to have, all your I's and T's dotted and crossed and everything else, because you trust that process. You trust that feeling. And it's hard for a lot of people because they really do live their lives by manual. So, paint by colors, numbers. And we have to let go of that. You know, the old cosmic 2x4. No, no, you're going in the wrong way. Are you listening to me? Hey, hey, are you listening to me? Tap, tap. All right, okay, wackaroo. All right, now while you're down there, have a good think and feel about
Yes,
where you want to go next. And a lot of spirituality, all of spirituality and love and energy and everything is a feeling, isn't it?
it absolutely is. And that feeling kind of, like you use the word, knocks at you, but it's not always knocks at you. And what I want to say is, like, sometimes you'll find that your lowest times is where you'll find yourself.
Yes.
So, so when you're the lowest, or you feel the lowest, you're not even the lowest, because it's all an illusion after all, anyways,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so when you feel the lowest, that's when you'll probably reach within,
Hmm.
and you'll be searching for answers within. And then you'll discover a beautiful, amazing world. Because when you go within, you're actually building a relationship with none other but yourself.
Which is who you go with every single day, every single moment of your life until
Absolutely.
the end of this vessel, and then your
That's right.
spirit goes on. So
That's right.
why are we having conflict with ourselves? Why don't we
Correct.
just follow?
Right. And in that I like to call it interaction rather than conflict, right?
Hmm.
Because yes, you feel like you're in conflict, but again, that feeling of conflict is, again, it's not even there. It's not even real. That conflict is there just to show you who you are. And as you go through your life, going through different experiences, you will find yourself growing in the knowing of yourself.
Yes, 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 yes. The knowingness, as you know, I'm always speaking to that, you know, and it's again, it comes down to it, you have a whole lot more control when you let go of control.
Right.
And a lot of
Yes.
people just do not understand that, but it's just by just surrendering, tuning in, opening up those channels, being aware, you know, taking that step in trust, that leap off the abyss, blind, deaf, and dumb, in order to see, hear, and feel. You
Mhm.
know, we then are immersed in our journey. We're
Correct.
participating in our journey. The expectation is in the wonderment, not about, well, isn't this meant to come next? No, allow what is to come next. But an
Yeah.
awful lot of trust has to happen there, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And when we talk about astral connections, let's talk about the physical space first. When I was running astral connections, the physical space, when I got there and I met my partner, who I was going to work with in this business, she was a beautiful is a beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful soul. Um, but she was having difficulty running her business, and I made the decision to help her. And that time was a breakdown in my life,
Mhm.
financially,
Mhm.
emotionally, spiritually. But this passion of mine to help other people called to me to help in this situation
Yeah.
as well, right? And I've always been that person that always wants to help other people. And so, but I'm going into this situation where, really, although I've read books on ancient civilizations, UFOs, astral connection, astral body, astral travel, um, crystals, I've read a lot on all these metaphysical subjects, and intrigued by it. Bigfoot and
Mhm.
whatever you can think of. The ancient mysteries, or the time series.
Mhm.
Ancient civilizations.
Yep.
You watch them, you read about them. But now I'm in a place where this person promotes these things. And now it's not about just reading about it, it's about experiencing it. I knew nothing about crystals when I started at Astral Connections. And it was thanks to my partner, Lois Finetz, that she's like, just hold it, you know?
Mhm.
And my concern when I got there was, well, how am I going to make this business prosper, right? That was going through my head,
Right.
right? I know nothing about it, but I also know in business, whether you're selling a widget or an apple or whatever it is, it's the same thing.
Yes.
It's
Yes. It's
about
finding the
connection.
need. It's finding the need and the production, the supply and creating the demand. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is.
It doesn't matter what it is. It's about connection.
Hmm.
Ultimately, it's about
Yes.
connection. So then I embarked on connecting with this so-called crystal that she had it in my hand. And, first week, nothing. I listened to her exactly what she said. Just carry it in your pocket. Every
Hmm.
now and then, pull it out and feel it and just be with it.
Yeah.
And so a few weeks go by and all of a sudden I start feeling things in this rose quartz crystal that
Hmm.
she gave me.
I've got one here too somewhere.
Right? And all of a sudden my dreams start changing.
Hmm.
And my I used to see auras when I had that seizure when I was
Hmm.
younger, but I hadn't seen them in a while, and all of a sudden I'm seeing auras. And at the store, not only did we sell metaphysical products, but we used to have workshops and lecturers come in and present their ideas and concepts to share with others. So I embarked on expanding that. And we used to have like maybe a workshop or a lecture a day.
Hmm.
And I had the privilege of interacting with each of these individuals who came with all these different modalities, whether it was hypnosis, whether it was mediumship, whether it was UFO sky watches, all kinds of very far out subject matters that I really had a reading on, I had researched on, but never really experienced.
Hmm.
And now in that, and after my experiences at Astral Connections, not only did I experience all those things, I fell in love with them.
Well, you opened up your channels.
That's right.
That's the thing is, I do a lot of work with Tom Negler, where he has a wonderful HG master, ascending master Kutumi that comes through him, and he has no recollection when he's channeling. He goes to black. Tom does,
Right.
and then Kutumi comes through, and you have this dialogue with Kutumi. We've done it 3 times now, and there'll be more to come. And basically, it's just opening up your channels and again, that connection. Now, he developed 30 years ago a connection with Kutumi.
Right.
We have a mutual friend, Bill Mackey. He speaks to Pascal fractals,
Right.
Welcome to and a few other people out there.
selfdiscoverymedia.com,
And just
where we
because we're out
discover
of
the
the vessel doesn't
communities
mean
that
we're
are
still
making
not
a
an
difference
entity
in
of
the
energy.
lives of others.
And
Right.
many
Our
who have so much
self-discovery
to
is
teach
something
us
we are all
stick
making
around
on our life's journey.
and find
Here
somebody
you
of
will
that
find the
frequency
people
to channel
that will
with.
be your guidance.
Right.
And,
They will
and
be your
that's the thing.
inspiration.
All of this
That
is
will be
all
there
up
for
and
you in
around us. It's
support
just
on your
tapping
journey of
into
life.
those
Do
energies.
enjoy.
And when you
Our
do,
next show
everything
is
opens up. And you don't kind of go, oh, this is bizarre. You go, oh, this is cool.
Right.
It
Yeah.
changes everything
I,
on it.
I remember my first experience. I was at Astral, and there was a lady there, and she was channeling somebody or them. I guess there's a group, and they're known as mezzanine. And she was channeling them, and I realized in that moment it doesn't matter whether she's channeling or she's speaking. It's because
Right.
before this, all these
Mm.
thoughts are going through your head.
Yep.
Is this real?
Yeah.
Is she really channeling somebody? And I'm sure those thoughts have gone
Yes.
through all our heads,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. That's the thing. We've got to prove it. Yeah.
But and then you get to and you enter your heart and you realize I've never heard such beautiful words out of anyone's
Yeah.
mouth before this.
Yeah. I mean, what resonates with you? Stop analyzing where it came from. Are the words,
Right.
is the vibration touching you?
That's right.
Right?
And I was so mesmerized by the words that were being said about us as a humanity, about us as what we've accomplished together, what we have yet to accomplish together, what struggles we're going through, and what struggles we'll go through. And it was so amazing that these words were coming out of this person's mouth that all of a sudden I'm like, doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And from that moment on, it didn't matter anymore with anything, whether it was a crystal,
Yeah.
whether it
It's
was a psychic, whether it
yeah.
was a
Right.
medium.
Yeah.
I was in the experience and I was experiencing.
You were
And that
experiencing the experience. Yes,
that's
you
right.
were
And that
allowing it to
experience,
happen to you, for you, through you.
yes.
Yeah,
And that experience was so precious that it no longer mattered.
right.
It no longer mattered. The why no longer mattered. The how no longer mattered.
Well, that's what makes you a good interviewer, because you're not looking up going, really? You know how to ask the question, do you know? Because, there I'm talking to you and sharing, I played with dead people. And, some people go, oh, where's the white coats? And you just took everything in your stride because,
Yeah,
obviously through these connections, you've met everybody from all sorts and from all walks of life. And, for me growing up, playing with dead people and going into multiple dimensions and astral traveling, was something that I just did. And, well, how do you do it? I don't know. I just do it. I just do it. It's
yeah,
not like I book a ticket or jump a bus or get on a plane. I just go. How do you know you're in another dimension? How do you know you're doing this and that? I don't know. It's not for me to know the how. It's for me
that's
to
right.
understand what the message is.
And remember what I said about I've read so many things. Well, I read about astral travel too and tried some of those tricks and tricks that they share in the books, but nothing happened to me back then.
Right?
But after I had this experience at Astral and met all these people and
And opened up.
interacted with them genuinely. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like it
yes.
wasn't something I was trying to make happen. It was happening to me.
You evolved.
Yes, and those things started happening to me automatically.
Hmm.
I saw aliens. I
Hmm.
had astral travel
Hmm.
experiences,
Yeah.
and it was just
And
yes,
the more
it's
you do that, the less you go, it's bizarre. I think it's more bizarre to think that as the human race, we're it in the
yeah,
universe, and that
it's
we're
so
the
true.
supreme beings. Because if that's the case, it's a very sad universe.
Correct.
We are made up of particles of the universal material. That
Right,
energy that's in the universe is what makes us up. Our blood and our energy and everything about us needs to be in flow, as the universe is always moving, although we don't see that. Everything is always in flow. And when we decide to go with the flow, with that
right.
beautiful universal energy and let it ignite the particles inside of us in a different way, we realize that we don't have to be bound to the body, that we can go anywhere if we open up and are willing
That's
to
right.
travel.
Well, and quantum physics tells us, right, that unless if there's an observer, none of this exists. You close your eyes and like, what do you see? You see absolutely nothing. So unless if there's an observer, none of this exists. What happens if we all close our eyes?
Yes, yes. There was Doctor Strange.
Yes,
I love
the
that movie,
movie.
and there is a part in there. He's a guy. He's a surgeon. Nobody's watched it, and he's brilliant. And of course, his hands are everything. And he has an accident, and he pretty well destroys his hands, and it sets him on this journey. But what he's wanting is someone to fix his hands, and his monk guru, whatever you want to call him, wise one, is trying to explain to him he's more than the body, and at one point pushes him out of his body. I loved that scene. I loved it. She just pushed him out of his body, and he's looking at his body and realizing he's not bound to the
That's
body,
right.
and then literally
Right.
started traveling the universe and realized he could be anywhere at any time at any moment. And
That's right.
it was one of those moments
Yes,
for me, like
that's
that
right.
explained it beautifully.
And that's it. Close your eyes and you can be anywhere, right?
Yes.
Close your eyes and you could be on a beach in Hawaii and close
Yeah.
your eyes
Yeah.
and you can be on another planet,
Right. Well, we
right?
restrict ourselves so much, but it can only be experienced physically.
And yes, that's right. And your imagination plays the most profound part in all this because if you can imagine it, you can conceive it, you can experience it and
Yeah.
be it.
There's only one problem with traveling in so many dimensions. I've been in so many places, and there's certain places I'd love to go back to, but I don't know where they are. And every now and again, the memory of being in such a beautiful place comes back. But it's like when you're actually kind of, I think what we need to understand is that when we travel, we are traveling, we think in our physicality, but we're not
Right.
in our physicality. We're feeling ourselves as this identity, you, Shiraz, me, Sara. And although you're feeling nobody, but it's because it's how we identify ourselves against everything else. And you go through these other experiences. And they
Mhm.
are so utterly real because they are real. You are going
Yes.
through those experiences, good or bad. And sometimes when you kind of come back to this form, into this world, and it's like, I would love to go back there. You know, but sometimes it's
Absolutely.
only to visit, not to stay.
It's really really fascinating. Like one of the so-called astral or out of body experiences I had was um, I close my eyes and all of a sudden I asked the question just before this happened was, it is said that, the experience you have when you have a spiritual experience is very different than an experience you have in the physical
Yeah,
world where you can touch something, you can move your hand and touch something, and you can actually experience the touch of that thing. It doesn't work that way.
right.
Um, so I was questioning this question in my head, and all of a sudden I lie down, and I have this experience where radio snow when you're on a channel and
Yes.
on a radio channel and you can't hear the words, you hear
Yeah.
just yeah, exactly. And so I hear this, and then I see lines, kind of like on a heart or on a heartbeat
Hmm.
monitor, green
Hmm.
lines. And I'm like, what's going on? And the sound that I'm hearing is coming from my back, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And it's coming from my lower spine. And I try to move my hand to go touch my lower spine,
Hmm.
just like I was thinking about, right? Why, this question of touching something or experiencing by my will, not
Yeah.
anyone else's will, right? I wasn't able to move my hand. I
Yeah.
wasn't able to move my arm. Nothing would happen, but the sound traveled up my spine and up to my ear and up
Hmm.
to my neck, and I experienced this sound travel. But I couldn't touch it with my hand like I wanted
Hmm.
to be able to know what it was. And all of a sudden, it's like there was this realization. Okay, okay, I get it. I get it. It doesn't work the same way.
Yes. It wasn't for you to touch, it was for you to feel.
That's right.
By an inner touch. This is where the gift of the physicality comes in.
Right,
As a spiritual being, you are all energy.
right,
When we are in these vessels and we can touch, we can taste, we can kiss, we can cry, we can see, we can hear, that feeling and of the physical touch can be very etheric. I just did a show on sensuality is our creativity, and a lot of people think sensuality is automatically sexuality. And
sexuality.
yes, it
Right,
enhances your sexuality considerably to be in your sensuality. But the sensuality is being in tuned into all of your senses. It's
right,
igniting that universal energy within you, and,
right,
and having it literally come through your hands, through your eyes, through everything, so that everything that you touch and that you do, you savor.
right,
You have such a different experience with it. And this is the
right.
gift of the body. And we are denying ourselves that wonderful gift because we're so busy living just in the body and not uniting the cosmic spirit along with it.
So it's interesting. I don't know if this is taboo to talk about, but there was a person who came and talked at Astral about experiencing an orgasm in your thumb
Right.
or
Well,
your
that
nose.
one's a new one for me, but yeah. Why not? I mean, this, yeah,
and and he was there to show people how they can experience the most profound orgasm
yeah,
in their nose or their thumb
yeah.
and not needing anything else.
Right. Um, the thing is too, is that when you are in that sensuality and you do have a central sexual partner that you can ride with, you are not what I call fornicating. The lovemaking that you're doing is so beyond your body that
Right.
it heightens all of those body senses into an astral feeling.
That's
Uh,
right.
right? But you've got to have the right partner that knows, how
That's
to
right.
ignite that within you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I
Well,
think
the
that's
best part,
was it call it the tantra?
yes.
Right,
That's right.
right. So that kind of is a part of getting into that too. So yeah.
That's right. And what I wanted to add to what I was saying about that experience I had was um, when I first came to Astral, like, I was like, what am I doing here, right? why has God led me here? Because yes, this is all amazing stuff, but it's not very practical.
Mm-hmm.
And people, and then I'd meet clients who've had very scary experiences. Like if the experience I just shared with you to somebody could be very scary
Yeah.
because they can't control their physical being when they're in this experience. And the experience for me ended when I came to the
Mm-hmm.
realization that that question I was asking was answered.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to share also that any experience anyone has, as scary or whatever it may seem, it's there to answer a question for you.
Yeah.
It's there
Yeah.
to answer a question for you that you're asking. And you'll get that realization as I did in that experience that, oh, okay, I asked this question. This thing is answering that question. And as soon as I realized that, the experience stopped, like
Right.
instantly,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm.
so we can have that relationship with ourselves, which is so deep and so profound that we'll answer our own questions in the most unique and unconventional ways.
If we get out of our way.
Yes,
Yeah.
if we
You know,
get it our way.
a lot of people hear horror stories, and I have one to tell. I was opening up far too much of my chakras, of my channeling at one point. I
Mhm,
mean, I was literally seeing people's lives just by touching them, and it was all going a bit too much. And I was loving living in that dimension, but what I was not doing was protecting myself from what I call earthbounders, and it's people that have crossed over but don't realize they've crossed over, and they have not um, evolved, haven't descended, and instead they're wanting to come back. And I had a couple of nasty experiences of the body snatchers
right.
and freaking people out, literally when my body is riling while they're trying to hold me down and curse whatever it was inside of me. And there is a certain amount that you have to do to protect yourself, and part of that protection is don't just do it from a place of, like some people flatline
Yeah,
deliberately so they can go
yeah,
traveling.
yes,
Don't
that's right.
go from it from that point of view. In order to do it safely, of opening up your world to the channel, you need to raise your own frequency, your own good
That's right.
vibrations
That's
into
right.
that loving state, into that heart
Yes.
state, and there you will be protected, and you'll only open up what you need. And I was young. I wanted to see what else I could do, and I just floodgated, and that maybe wasn't such a good door to open, but fortunately, I'm here, so I learned from it. But this thing of a lot of people, who talk about ghosts,
Yes.
and I call them earthbounders, because
Yes.
for sometimes they just stay here because they're the custodians of the place, or they're here
Right.
to look after people until they go.
Right.
They're finishing off a contract, and some people it's like, well, I'm not dead, I need a body. um, but I think one thing we don't realize is that we all kind of have a contract to come and fulfill in this physical lifetime, don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you mentioned that example, it reminded me of another situation in my life, where I had not seen a friend for a very long time. And I was sitting with him, and he was sharing with me a car accident experience he had where there was flames, and he was lying in the gasoline, and it burnt his back.
Wow.
And I remember sitting at that coffee table, and it was a really long time. I was catching up, and I didn't really remember very much of um, what was our friendship before. But and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder how that felt. I wonder what that experience was for this person, because it must have been really horrendous, right? And that week was the craziest. I would keep burning myself in all these different,
Careful
like,
what you ask for.
I asked for it. Like, and then I'm like, okay, stop. What's going on? Why do I keep burning myself? Right.
Okay, I
And
know
I
what
was
it's
burning,
like now. It's okay, you can stop.
yeah, yeah. And I was burning myself on things that I shouldn't burn myself, like touching
Right.
keys and stuff like that. And then I'm like, as soon as I had that realization thought that, okay, okay, I remember this has something to do with that conversation I had
Yeah.
with my friend weeks ago. And at that moment, my hands started heating up
Yeah.
when I realized it. And there opens up my healing abilities.
Hmm.
So,
Welcome to
yes, some of these experiences can be
selfdiscoverymedia.com,
scary and
where we discover
unconventional,
the
whatever, but they're
communities that are
there to give
making a
you gifts.
difference
So,
in the
whatever
lives of
feels
others.
scary,
Our
just know it's there to
self-discovery
give you a
is
gift,
something
like
we are all
after that,
making
you know,
on
our
our
healing
life's journey.
has.
Yeah,
And
here you will exactly. find
and
the
you
people
don't know what it's
that
opening.
will be your
And
guidance,
this is the thing,
that will be your
fear
inspiration,
is a
that
detriment
will
to any
be
form
there
of
for you
creativity or
in
progress.
support on your
But
journey of
the
life.
fear of walking
Do
out in front of the
enjoy.
bus and
Our
hoping it will
next
miss
show
you is a
is
valid one. Yes, of
The
course.
fear of dabbling into other worlds, or what some people like to call the dark world, where there is the lost ones. Whatever what you say, I want to experience that, you will experience it. We've got to realize is that the universe does not know right or wrong. It's going to respond to what you request. Right.
Right.
And so if I want to experience that, or what's pain like, and all of a sudden, oh, where did that come from? So kind of speak to how you would like to feel and the experiences that you would like to feel. And if you're wanting to know how somebody else is feeling in their pain, it is the understanding. You don't have to actually feel the pain, but it is the understanding of the anguish that they go through, and how can you send loving vibration to them to help heal them,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. It's all about love.
I mean, people ask me the question, if there's one thing you wish for the world, what would it be? And, for me, there's many answers, but a lot of the ones that comes constantly to the forefront is that everybody feels either the pain or the joy they inflict on another person. Because you're
Wow.
inflicting on pain on another person, are you going to keep doing it if you feel it too? If you're
No, of course
inflicting
not.
joy on another person, and that joy elevates and it elevates you, aren't you going to do more of that?
Yes, of course.
What would be
Of
your
course.
answer?
Um, what a beautiful intention that is. Um, wow. If you were to ask me that question, I would say I would want everyone to be able to experience the best of themselves.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, because I think we sell ourselves short.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And we have all these aspirations and dreams that we want to fulfill, and we keep thinking or feeling it's not possible, it's not possible, it's not possible. I want everyone to experience that everything is possible.
And you know what? Is it possible in the image that you think it's possible in, or is it possible from a different angle that you hadn't
Absolutely.
thought of? It's put out the desire and the why you
Yes.
want that experience, and then get out of your own way,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Getting out of our own ways is a hard thing, isn't it? Because the human condition is always wants to know, I mean, I call these the why shows, but it's why are you doing what you're doing and what propelled you to get there? You're not the, but why should I do that? How
Right.
is it, what's it going to do for me? Or what's it going to cost me? That it, in the tone that you said, why should I do that? What's it going to cost me? That is a negative. But you go, okay, why should I do that? Okay, and it's going to cost me? Oh, well, that's okay. Inquiring, tone of
Yes.
voice,
Yes.
it changes the dialogue so completely. And
Hmm.
yet we like to speak more to judgment and negativity as a human race, which has become a condition of ours, rather than in inquiry and possibilities.
It's so true. And just yesterday, like you would think that, I would remember, but no, I had the intuition to contact a counselor because I was searching for some help. And his words to me were just let go of the situation, just let go
Yeah,
of the situation, right?
yeah,
It's let it go and act from the place of, you know, um, from the place of love and light, and
yeah,
not from the place of fear and anger and need to manage something,
yeah, yeah,
right? Act from a place of um, confidence.
and
And it
compassion.
was a beautiful reminder.
Mm,
And it's like, wow, it's just what I needed, right?
yeah,
That's just what I needed. I'm just going to let go now and let the chips fall where they
right.
may.
Yeah, and
and,
then
and
deal with it as it is. You
yeah.
know, the yes, there is the old stitch in time saves nine, and there's a
Hmm.
lot that we can do to prevent things. rather like now with the old COVID, masks
Right.
on, wash hands, keep sanitized, be smart, don't get fearful because you make your immune system down, but be sensible.
Right.
Common sense, just like we would with anybody else with the flu. We don't want it,
Yeah.
same kind of practices. So,
Yeah.
but it's again, we get fed doubt, and we get
Yeah.
fed fear, and we get fed everything else, and then it has two reactions, and if people either adhere to it, okay, I hear the warning, I'm going to do what I need to do because no, I don't want to go down that path, and other people who always feel that it's out to get them. But
Hmm.
whether it be COVID or whether it be anything else, those
Yeah.
people will think everything is out to get them because they
Yes.
haven't yet taken onus of themselves.
That's right. And it's a choice, right?
Yes.
Whether you step out of the house or whether you stay in the house. Do it responsibly. If you're
Yeah.
stepping out, then take the precautions you need to take when you step out.
Yeah.
And if you're indoors, then take the precautions there that, to keep your own family and home
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
So,
And
and if
and
you're
then just
not
like
doing that,
just like the
sorry.
process you were saying that you're going through right now, and it's just go through it. This is the same. It's a process
Yeah,
we're going through right now.
that's right.
But the wonderment is like, how is this going to change us? How is this going to make us better? And you
Right.
look at all the people that have stepped up, all the people, where we've looked at people in the grocery stores, the garbage cleaner, the truck drivers, the
Yeah,
nurses, it's always been kind of, there were servants here just to serve us, and we didn't appreciate them. Without
yeah.
them right now, where would we be? And that shift in gratitude, that shift in perspective, and alone is a wonderful gift.
Absolutely. And the fact that we're
Mm.
realizing that how important each of us is to humanity's
Yeah,
well-being,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that we have to work together in a crisis like this.
Well, we should work together at all times.
Yes,
I mean, energy
absolutely.
isn't just one little energy thing
That's right.
flapping around.
That's right.
Energy is a whole neuron that
That's
is
right.
together, and it's in that energy. And energy isn't something you plug in, folks, and download.
No.
Energy is something that we download from the universe. It's energy that is within us that we can ignite, and it's not
Absolutely.
energy that comes out where you get louder or you
Yeah.
get angrier
Yeah.
or you use at a sporting event. It's an energy that will glow within you. It warms you up, it expands you out. It is calm, it is peaceful, and it is ever expanding.
And if it isn't that, then it's not energy.
Right, exactly, exactly. Because, a lot of people get misconstrued of understanding what energy is. And
Yes.
if we could go off to the tank and, put it in, that would be great. we have
Yeah.
to, we are being asked to go to the gas station of the universe, right?
Right.
Get our liter
Yeah.
or tank full
Yes.
of energy there. So it's a
Absolutely.
different
And
source.
And if you're experiencing fear, anger, it's really important to understand that fear and anger can actually induce those very same symptoms that the virus can
Yes,
induce, right?
yes,
Shortness of
yes.
breath,
Mm.
and
Tightness in the body,
tightness and
restriction in
body.
the lungs.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yeah.
Yes, right?
Hmm.
And you might, assume you have a virus when you really don't. You're just experiencing what you would normally experience in a flight situation, right? Fight or flight situation. And so the number one thing everyone should focus on is staying away from that place of fear.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I mean, as I said, we're not, like some war-torn countries that are literally afraid if a bomb's going to drop or
mhm,
machine guns are going to come into the house. And, of course, we do still have that here in North America of people of ethnicity
mhm.
where, people are going and being shot in their own home. That's another story altogether. It's not
Yes,
completely obliterated, but, we're being asked to stay home where, and not have the fear, you know,
right.
of
That's
the
right.
kind of I call the Gestapo, and the the gift of time that it's giving us, and
Yeah,
the wonderful reflection and the renewal that can come from us in new
yeah,
directions. And if you think about it, this is most certainly the universe's gift to us right now. They've put us
Yeah.
on pause. Okay,
Yes.
now while you're on pause, they've sent us to the corner. Now, while you're in the corner, I want you to have a good think and feel what you would like to do when you come back out.
That's
And,
right. And
you know,
what a beautiful thing, right? I mean, I have a passion for watching the music shows,
oh,
American
yeah,
Idol and The Voice and
yes, me
etc.
too, me too.
And now we watch them and no one's got makeup on and they're
Right?
all in their own homes. They're all relaxed
Yes,
and
yes,
you're like, what a different experience this
yeah.
is. And I would have never experienced this if this wasn't happening right now.
Well, I've had people commenting to me before, what if it's just a Zoom interview? No,
Yeah,
it's a proper podcast, and I use Zoom as my a medium of doing it. But this is just as legitimate as any studio show. It just hasn't got all
right.
the bells and whistles. And now you're taking all the studio people, stripped of the hair and the
Yeah.
makeup, and they've got to create their own aesthetic background and
Yes,
do
yes,
everything
yes,
else themselves. And what we're doing is we're seeing them real.
yes.
And it is maybe going to be hard for them to go back to the other persona, because
Right.
people like you looking at them and go, well, really, you're just like us,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. Yeah. And even in their communication, I found they're way more relaxed.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Right?
And just in a lot of ways, kind of a little sillier, you're more humorous.
Yeah, yeah,
And
true.
it's like a breath of fresh air. I'm a
Yes.
Trevor Noah of the Daily Show. That and Colbert is where I get my news, because otherwise you can't handle it.
Yes.
And the sense of humor over things,
Hmm.
not taking yourself so seriously.
Hmm.
But when it comes to something that is really serious, they know how to step out of the humor, take you to that certain level, and deliver the seriousness of it. And you are so much more in tune with what they said at that time, because they've relaxed you. You've had a
Right.
good laugh. You've seen the nonsensicalness of it, and then there's that serious moment, and it draws you right in, as opposed to the news, which is serious and all the time. And it's like, oh, I'm depressed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
and
that the same with everything in life, though? I mean, if you look back at your own depressions and your own crossroads in life, was it because you were tuning in, quote, quote, to a different channel and not hearing the news you needed to hear?
um, when I look back to those times in my life, they all seem to take me to a new knowing of life, a new lesson in life, a new experience in life, and a new point in my life, to another stage in my life where
Yes.
I sort of evolved into a different experience altogether.
Mm.
And I wonder often when these experiences happening to us that they jolt us,
Mm-hmm.
out of wherever we are.
Mm-hmm.
But the next life experience it seems to be another stage in our life altogether.
Chapter,
And
another chapter in our book of life, right?
yes, another chapter. And it's like everything seems to shift. The people around you
Yeah.
shift, the surroundings around you shift, and it's just like you say, a new chapter in life,
Mm.
but a new chapter with new props,
Yeah.
you know?
And you're going to, people always worry about, but if I change or I go into this new chapter, I'm leaving people behind because they won't know me anymore. Well, that's their journey. This is
Yeah,
your journey. This is the one you're responsible for. And
right.
sometimes you might have a chapter or two between you, and they may come back and they've done their own journey and you reunite, or they just
Yes,
simply might have just been those chapters of your life. And respect and memory, but you have to move on. You can't let people hold you back. And you're from a culture where it's extremely family orientated and very
hmm,
much to do with tradition and kind of
yes,
following certain
absolutely.
traditions. And we're seeing a lot of that now. Is just no, we just there are traditions that work and other traditions that simply do not make sense, and sometimes people have literally had to walk away and
Right.
honor themselves. And I know that's painful to do, but at the same time, if you don't, you're living in a different pain.
Yeah, and it's so true, and I think we all experience it when you're separating from someone or parting from someone, we all feel that, oh no, what am I going to do now? Oh no, how's my life going to be different now?
Yeah.
But
Is it the right
whatever
decision?
happens next,
Yeah.
pardon me?
Is it the right decision? You
Yeah,
know?
is it the right decision? And what happens next basically confirms that, okay, you made the right decision
Yeah,
because now you've moved into something even more beautiful. Why were you fearing
right.
the decision in the past?
And that something more beautiful you've moved into is a connection with self. That if you're in a
So beautiful.
turmoil, if you're,
Yeah,
you know, if you're in a chaos, how can you connect to you? And if in order for you to have relationships with others that are true and pure, you must have that relationship with self. So we need to go in and truly connect with ourselves, and we can't do that if
yeah.
we're in a situation where we feel, in many ways, our spirit and our soul and our presence is compromised.
That's right. And now's a good time, everyone. Take advantage of it.
Yes,
Close
yes,
your eyes, sit and
yeah,
sit with yourself and ask yourself those hard questions, and go within and find your heart, find that heart space of yours and move from there.
yeah. And as you said, the fear holds us back, it cripples us, it stops us from doing anything that we really need to do. Now, you left Astral Connections, just it naturally dissolved in its own way. uh,
I remember Astral Connections when it shut down and I was feeling sad and I went back to visit it. Just to see the store, and the sign was still up there. And I saw the door and I wanted to look in. And as I'm looking in, I noticed somebody had drawn a red heart with lipstick on the door.
uh,
And it was so beautiful. And I'm like, I wonder who this could have been, right? But it could have been anybody. We
yeah,
had so many
yeah.
lovers there. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, that's it. This is it, right? This is the end. And
Well, the end of it
and it was a
there,
sign,
but
it was a sign to me of an end of that and a new beginning.
yeah, exactly. Because we never lose anything that we learn or that's ignited our heart or
Right.
spirit. We never ever, we take that and go, okay, that was that wonderful chapter in my life. And I'm going to take all
Yes.
that gave me the joy, all that I learned about myself and what else I can do, the skills and the tools, and apply it to a new adventure. And you applied it to a new adventure with David Sarita.
Yes. So that's an interesting story too. It was well, a few years back. I was sitting in my living room, and now Astral has shut down. I've gone through many many different jobs and like practical jobs, tech
Yes,
jobs,
the rent
I
jobs.
yes, IT jobs. And I'm sitting in my living room and I'm watching a David Sarita video and he's talking about one of his devices and I'm saying to myself, if only, I could be back in the metaphysical world,
Yes.
working a metaphysical
Mhm.
job, maybe even working with someone like David Sarita, and promoting his products. And then maybe I'll get to try some of his products because his products were quite pricey at the time and still are, but they're worth it. Every single penny is
Mhm.
worth it. Um, and I'm having this thought and I go to sleep and 2 days later somebody says to me, there's this position that you might be interested in that might be suitable for you. I think you're the perfect fit, right? And then it'll help you out and it'll help my friend out and of course, and when I was interviewed, I didn't know I was being interviewed for David Sarita, but I was being interviewed for a position with him, and I got to work with him, and I've been working with him since. And it's been just the most beautiful experience with the devices. It's been
Mhm.
the most beautiful experience with the clients
Mhm.
because they've all had such amazing experiences with his products. And his products are frequency devices,
Mhm.
what you could term PEMF, which is um, electromagnetic frequency, pulse electromagnetic frequency, and what you can term also. You can use them as a Rife device if you know who Royal Raymond Rife is. We can talk about that in a second.
Mhm.
And then you can use David Sarita's own frequencies with the devices. And David Sarita is is quite the quote unquote celebrity we talked about last time,
Yep.
as everyone else is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's had numerous spiritual experiences in his life that have led to his findings and inventions. Conversations with God, letters with God,
Mm-hmm.
that led him to Moses, Jesus, and even Muhammad, and experiencing their spiritual entities in his reality. And he's received guidance and messages from them to lead to what he's come up with for humanity and shared with humanity. And so the main products are, he started with pendants, and he's a scientist as well, and he's been in the media, CNN and Alison
Mm-hmm.
Cooper and other media, Fox, and then he's been on Gaia. You could find him on Gaia. He
Mm-hmm.
has many um, movies he's done too with people like Dan Aykroyd,
Mm-hmm.
and worked for NASA. So he's quite,
Well
established as a
rounded. Yeah.
scientist and established as a metaphysician. He's studied under people like the Dalai Lama.
Mm-hmm.
So, not just an ordinary person.
An ordinary person doing extraordinary things.
That's right. And exactly. And we're all ordinary and extraordinary
Yes.
people, though.
It's
So,
a question of what we tap into.
absolutely. And so his products, his pendants, first of all, they're infused with frequency and frequencies he discovered. And he discovered about frequency that what's important is not necessarily the frequency or the number. What's
Mm-hmm.
important is the ratio. And
Mm.
that meaning so if you have a frequency 1, it's not as accurate as 1.156789, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're working with ratios, you're getting more accurate results. And so his frequencies are, a lot of them are ratios. And then he goes into this whole concept of frequency ratio and coherence. And you can learn about that when you watch his webinars and what that means. And he talks about how to traverse different states of spiritual experience or bliss experience,
Right.
or states of mind,
Right.
in those three concepts. And so his devices, so the main one is the wand. The wand, it looks like a flashlight,
Mm-hmm.
but it's got rubies, and it's got copper, and it's got tourmaline, and other crystals and minerals. And his products are all natural, so that's really awesome. So they communicate with us organically, right? Because
Right.
everything's natural. And then they're used to emit frequency. So whether you use a computer, an iPad, or whatever it is to emit the frequency, you emit the frequency, and the frequency can be something like the frequency of the sun. And the sun, of course, energizes us.
Right.
And I remember like the stories of one of his first clients being a little girl who was healed from a fall from a clothes dryer, and she damaged her arm and the nerves in it. And working with this frequency of the sun and working with this wand helped bring the feeling back in her arm and restructured her bones and all kinds of miraculous things. And that's his number one product. And then he has something called the coil, um, and star coil, and it's in the shape of a mantra, the Star of David,
Mm-hmm.
or a mantra. And it's meant to protect our homes from things like 5G, kind of like an orgone device, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
But he says, what an orgone device does, for example, is it blocks energies from entering your home or
Right.
space, whereas his device is more about harmonizing.
Right.
And because everything is God and everything's light and everything's love, ultimately, you can't really block it. You're not going to do
You're just
anything but
changing that
block it.
frequency to
Correct. So it's
yeah.
all about harmonizing
Mm.
versus blocking. And then finally, a third um, item is, actually, it's not finally, there's a fourth item, but a third item is what he originally called the Staff of Moses, where he had God write him a letter in a dream telling him about Moses' staff, what its importance is, and what its dimensions need to be, what materials it needs to
Mm-hmm.
be made out of, and why it's important for everyone to have one. And
Mm.
so he goes on that journey, and now we have also his staff of Moses, which is also the staff of Jesus or Muhammad, because we learn from the writings of these prophets as well that they also use a staff. And for example, Jesus told his disciples, um, when you go out and share the word, remember, if you don't take anything else, make sure you take your staff with you. And I'm paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Gospels, but I'm paraphrasing. And so that shows us there was some importance to the staff.
Right.
And we all know
Yeah.
Moses and his
Yeah.
story.
Or even Gandalf.
Yes, of
Yes.
course, Gandalf, Merlin.
Yeah. All of them. It's actually reminded me of a dream I had the other day.
Wonderful.
I had a dream that the killing of the virus and of the COVID was done by a low frequency, not a high frequency shoot, but a
Right.
low frequency that was like a hum that literally wrapped itself around the COVID and just went.
Wow.
So I don't know what frequency that is. But it was a frequency that when you listen to it, and it's rather like, when the monks are, and when people
Mhm.
go into the, into that almost white light, that type of thing.
Yes.
So it is that lower vibration sound
Right.
that comes, from here, that's soft and gentle. And instead of going, shoo, it encompasses. And
Right.
and I just saw it kind of eating up the virus, eating up the COVID, and not just that, eating up anything else that was a negative in the
Negative
body. Yeah,
vibration.
yeah,
Wow. You'll have to allow me to share that dream if you
yes,
work with
yes, yeah.
David to
It's a
read. I'm sure
frequency
he.
it's a low frequency, but it for me to describe it as a lay one. It's round, hum, and consistent, and it branches out the more you
Wow.
say it,
Yes.
so it's yeah, and it just literally wraps itself around it, and it just, you just see the COVID just go like dust, like that.
Well, I'm a firm believer that if you had that dream, that reality manifested
Somewhere
as a
with someone,
reality
yes,
somehow,
yes,
somewhere,
yeah,
and we'll see it in some form.
yes. Well, I believe there's an answer to everything. And
Absolutely.
I believe that energy is the answer to everything, but
Hmm.
it's what frequency are we on? How do we use that energy?
Right.
A lot of people, again, think it's the high notes. It's not the high notes.
Yeah.
Love is round. I keep going
Right.
to these things. Love is round. It's like a warm blanket. It's like a warm
Yeah.
hug. It is that hum.
Mhm.
That purr of a cat. You
How
know,
about the possibility that it's every note, really?
Yes, but no, but these particular notes are
Yes.
working at a different frequency in a way that is so comforting and so loving.
Yes.
Because you
Yes.
have an
That's true.
euphoric love that can go out, an excited love, an energetic
That's right.
love.
That's right.
But this is
And
kind of a love that, where it's comforting. It's like
right.
somebody's loving arms around you. It's like a cat purring against your chest. It's like a child nestling. It's that kind of warm, embracing,
Well,
immersing love.
if you think of the chakras, well, the heart space is in the middle.
Yeah,
It's not up here and it's
right.
not down there,
Mhm.
right? So yes, absolutely, that totally corresponds with our chakra system as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Our
and then, but
chakra system.
this is what we're being invited to do right now, isn't it? Step into our hearts.
Hmm.
Step into that chakra. Step into love, compassion, caring, kindness, understanding. Let's let the judgment go. We've seen it hasn't worked for us. Who are
Absolutely.
we to judge? There's a great thing on Facebook where somebody's looking at these three logs and go three, and then somebody's looking at it from another angle and sees four. They're
Right.
both right. It's just the question of the angle. So if we learn to move around and see something in its entirety, we
Yeah.
understand its truth better.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. And we talked about this last time when we talked about the hologram and how a
Mm.
hologram can be seen from any side, but still
Yes,
a hologram, right?
yes, yes, yeah. I think we're becoming more 3D in the way we
Yes.
look at things because, we've looked at everything very flat and two-dimensional. And of course, the two-dimensional and even three-dimensional is way gone. We're four, fifth, sixth, sixth on way up there now. And if we allow ourselves to see from our hearts, our souls, and our spirit, we are going to see so much more clearly than we are just trusting our heads.
Right. And I remember another example a friend told me when you look at a finger, for example, any side you look at it, it looks different, but it's
Yeah,
still a finger.
exactly.
It's still your finger. It does whatever
It
you.
just changes according to which you're putting up at the time and
Yes.
how you're doing it and to whom
Yes,
you're
and
doing it
also,
to. But
absolutely.
whether it is that finger or not, it is still just a finger.
It's still just a finger, exactly.
I think, one of the things that all of us have a conflict with at some point in time is, and it's there for a reason, but we seem to get caught up in the energy of it, is anger. And
Yeah.
we've all had something, and we will always have something that we get angry about.
Yes.
But when we allow that anger to consume us and turn to hate and righteousness and judgment, it eats us up, right?
Yes,
We
it
can be
does.
angry about something to go and ignite and do something about it, but this whole going down that road, whom does it serve?
Yes,
Absolutely no one.
absolutely no one. It's so true. And somebody, what we were talking about it just the other day about anger, and somebody said, they're very karma. They have a karmic understanding in their in their
View of
philosophy, I
things,
guess
yeah.
is a good word, right? And so they were saying like, there's people that'll make you really angry in your life, and you'll bent up anger in you as a result of that, and
Yes.
you'll keep growing this anger, but to what end? Because they're going to be there until it's their time not to be there.
What we water, what we feed is what will grow,
Yes,
right? And if
that's
you
right.
see the anger growing around you, well, it's time to pick that weed or change the garden. You know,
Yes, 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 yes.
I'm divorced too, and I had a very angry husband, and that anger was lying within him, his own discontent. And of course, I was the outlet for it. And when he used to try and pick a fight, I used to say, the only person interested is your mirror. That
Right.
is whom you have to take it up with. And in my own coaching, I do mirror coaching. It's so hard to look at yourself in the eye
Yes.
and BS yourself. Because your whole body looks at you and go, really? So we need to do a bit more of that practicing, and also stop looking at ourselves just from a physical human being process. This is the gift of body for this experience,
That's
but
right.
we are astral beings. Yeah. Mm,
Thank you, Louise Hay, for
yeah,
reminding all of us about our mirrors, because
yeah.
she's the one who really reminded us when she did. And until then, no one was looking at themselves in the
Right.
mirror.
Yes, I mean, if you're angry, what are you angry about? And has it got anything to do with me? Or am I just an outlet? And has it even got anything to do with you? Or have
Mhm.
you just allowed this to jump on you and ride you? And we know anger is hungry.
Right.
I'll go back to one of the things I use in my coach is like you take a ruler and 6 inches to yes, I'm still in inches, folks. 6 inches to 12 inches are the people that have chosen to live in positivity. And
Mhm.
you have your 4 to 6s are those who are in discovery and wanting to step into that positive energy. But you have your 1 to 3 that are the piranhas. And so every time those 4 to 6s are evolving, this is why we say distance yourself from people,
Right.
maybe go into solitude while you're changing your energy pattern. Because the moment you've changed that energy pattern, they're going after you and feeding, but they won't feed on the higher levels because they know they can't reach them.
Right.
So don't put yourself in the presence of the piranhas. Those
Right.
piranhas only exist on chewing up everybody else's energy. Step
Right.
into your own energy and allow it to grow, because that energy allows everything else around you to grow.
Mhm. So, like, you spoke about your husband and his anger, and I've had people in my life with anger
Mm,
too. And this anger that's on the outside of
mm.
us through
Yes.
coming to us from someone else,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's like when we were at Astral, somebody talked about this concept of um, white karma and black karma,
Hmm.
and that they're not the same, and it's and white tantra and black tantra, and they're not the same. And you would think white tantra is good and black tantra is bad, but it's not. They're
Hmm.
both just aspects of the same experience. And
The
what
yin
he
and the yang.
explained was white tantra is something that's in your life as a result of your own actions, your own experiences, or whatever. But then there's this other form of experience we have where we have nothing to do with it, and someone enters our life from
Yes.
nowhere,
Yes. And
and
dumps.
it's just dropped into our life,
Yes.
whether it's a windfall of money, or
Right.
whether it's a person that's very angry with us, or whatever situation, a car accident,
Hmm.
whatever it is. I'm going along my day merrily, and all of a sudden, bang,
Yeah.
I get rear-ended,
Blindsided.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So, so what is this? Where does this come from? How do we create
Uh-huh.
this experience in our life that comes from nowhere? And again, I remind everybody, it's us.
Mm.
We're creating it ourselves for whatever reason to to remind us that we need to get back on track.
Oh, sometimes when it's kind of minor and not detrimental, when you have those, I'm not saying losing a limb or anything else, but,
Yes, yes,
when you have those things and it looks like, oh, why did this
yeah,
happen? You're there for someone else in that moment.
that's true too. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have found through my life that I have literally been given directions to go somewhere, and I go
Mm.
there to find out I'm in completely the wrong office. But the hour-long conversation I had with the person next to me needed to be had.
Wow, that's so true. So true. I remember an experience where I was driving along, and all of a sudden I hear a voice in my head. Yes, this is one of those woo-woo things. I hear a
Hmm.
voice in my head, change lanes. And I'm
Hmm.
like looking around, looking for, well, where is this coming from? Did someone sneak into my car? Right? Where is this voice coming from? And it's like change lanes. And I'm still looking for this voice, and the voice gets louder,
Hmm.
and the voice gets more authoritative.
Yeah. And
And
why
then
aren't you
now when it gets
listening?
authoritative, I'm like scared. Like I'm
Yes.
still not doing what the voice
Yeah.
is saying, which is change
Yeah.
lanes.
Just simply change lanes, girl.
And so finally the voice stopped. There's this pin drop silence, and I'm finding my foot moving my accelerator, my brake, and my steering wheel, and I'm changing lanes, and I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And as I move over and I drive by, there's this like 5 car pileup crash.
Aha. Right. Well,
And
it's like the
so,
people who just before they get on a plane,
yes,
don't get on, and
yeah,
they
get on.
literally walk away. And that is that kind of intuition. Is that we spend so much time arguing with it
Yeah,
instead of following it. And
that's
sometimes
right.
you may never know why you weren't meant to get on that flight or why you
That's
weren't
right.
meant to do that because it's not obvious. And
Yes.
sometimes it's very, very obvious. And go, oh, thank you, but you just listen. Stop arguing
Yes.
with it.
And just listen, right? And I realized in that experience, I better listen to these
Yes.
voices.
But you know the difference between a voice that is negative, a voice that is telling you to do something, you feel the urgency in the front of your chest.
Yes.
If it is something that doesn't feel right, you can feel up your spine, like the
Yes.
Harrys,
Like
right?
a crawly
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, and
Yes. Yes.
it's like, oh, I'm not listening to you. But when you feel an urgency, oh, I've got to
Yes.
change lanes. I don't know why, but I better. You
Yeah.
know? So, assess it through your physicality and get your head out of the way.
Get the head out of the way. But and then in that experience, I'm thinking like, why? Why was I singled out in this, right? What about the other 5 people? I'm seeing glass, and I'm seeing blood on
All
on
right,
the
right.
windshields, and
And maybe there's just they weren't. in tune enough to listen or to hear.
Yes, and so, I couldn't go very far. I pulled over and started praying for everyone behind me,
Right?
of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And but it just there's two lessons in that. One lesson, and the second is how precious life is.
Yes. And how quickly. I mean, this is the thing is my landlady has lost 5 people to COVID, and her brother dropped dead of a heart attack the other day. And
Oh
yes,
my
she's older, but I mean, God, she's going to outlast me. She's one of those
God.
ever-ready bunnies, keeps on
Yes.
going. And our biggest fights is when she's trying to lift up a sheet of glass that is the size of a door, with I, who's quite a bit taller than her, is having difficulty doing. Oh no, I can do it, and she tries to do it. Next thing you know, it shatters everywhere because she won't let you do things. She's got to
No.
do it. Feisty thing. Still works when work is ready, and still drives, and still does everything else, and walks faster than me, but all of these people dying around her that have, either died suddenly or died for this COVID, and that loss that she's had there. And we forget about, the losses that other people are going through. We go the numbers, it's just the numbers. And we've got to understand what is loss. It's,
Right.
you can't physically speak to someone anymore. You can't touch them anymore.
Mhm.
You can't have dinner with them anymore in
Oh,
the way you did. But
yes.
now we're actually communicating and connecting with them on a totally different astral level. And if we
Right.
open up to that, I've done shows on people where she still has conversations with her husband, dines with him, everything, even though he's long gone. They are in tune and talking and communicating every single day. And that's just a question of opening up those channels and being willing to just communicate on a different level.
Right. I hear you. Um, well, the what you're talking about reminded me of, while you were talking, I was going into a memory of a mediumship experience I had where this is my first mediumship experience where not I just witnessed a mediumship in action, calling on different audience members,
Mm-hmm.
with their loved ones and their stories. And then after this session, she was to teach us how to do our
Mm-hmm.
mediumship. And so I'm on the podium, and she's like, "You're the medium now."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm the medium now. Because remember, I'm in this place where I'm like, I'm not questioning anything.
Mm-hmm.
I am what
Going for the
I am,
experience.
right?
Yeah.
I'm experiencing it. And so it was instantaneous. All of a sudden I see a train coming at me,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm traveling through this train. I'm on this train. It's like, feels like it's in the 50s or something. And I'm seeing all these people, and I see a little boy with a pocket watch, and he's waving it, and that was but it was so real. It
Yes.
was so
Yes.
real, and I was right there, and I knew I was living, and these people around me were not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know why that experience happened in that moment. I had no intention of who I was gonna call into
Right.
being or anything like that. It
No.
was just a random experience that
Yeah.
happened to me.
And again, that is, I'm a different type of medium,
Yes.
all my life, and my mother the same, and my son too, though he doesn't kind of openly admit to it. He had experience even from the age of 5, is that when people are crossing over and they need help, to
Yes.
realize they're loud and need to be shown the light. When the Oklahoma bombings happened, going way back, my son was little, and it took him a few days. I knew he was bothered. And what is it? And he goes, well, I had this dream. And he was telling me about these people in half a building with excuse me, with bars there. And they couldn't get out and go to the door of light. And he
Right.
had to climb the building to open up the bars and take them into the light because they didn't
Yeah.
know how to do it themselves. This is something I've done through my whole life, and my mother and my grandmother beforehand. And
Right.
it's like, can you conjure them up? No. I have dead people come and talk to me when they want something. It's not, I'm not the medium where I'll conjure them up. It's when
Yes.
they want to come in and they want to say something,
That's right.
and they've got a message for someone that, then it's there. He was kind of a little spooked from it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to funerals where the person has come to me and say, please give this message, you know, and it's like you go and give the message, and it's a little bit of a shock for people, but somewhere in the back of their mind, it becomes something calming,
Yeah.
you know, even if they don't want to
Yeah.
believe it at first. But we don't think this. There is no thought. This is a transference of feeling energy into an
Right.
understanding of a dimension, or of a different platform, a different sphere that you're in. And
Right.
we can only relate what we see and hear. And that's
Yeah.
all we're meant to
We
relate,
did.
see and hear.
Absolutely. I remember an incident. I was at Astral, and I had a friend who I made a friend. It's a very interesting story. This friend as well, in that I had a reading from a psychic at Astral, and she said to me, "In a very short time, you're gonna experience a shopping spree. You're gonna be able to say, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and you're going to be able to have anything and everything you wanted." And so, what happens in our mind? We think of a shopping spree where we're going to win some money and we're going to be in a shopping cart. We're going to be, going down aisles, picking what we want and putting it in the shopping cart. But that's not how it happened for me.
Mm-hmm.
A couple came into Astral and said, "We want to help you. And we want to help you improve your store. And we'll do everything. You just have to tell us what you need." And so, they the next day they would come to me and show me samples. "Do you like this color? Do you like this color?" And and I realized, oh my God, that's my shopping
Yes,
street. These two people
yes,
are my shopping street.
yeah.
But I became very good friends with these two people. And one day I'm at Astro and I get this text and it simply said, "Daryl, heart, help." Those are the three words. And I'm like, what's going on, right? And I'm like, God, whatever this is, I'm going to go there right now. I'm walking away from the store, look after the store, and I'm going to go find out what this is. And I get the words in my head, say to her, "Find the peace."
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so when I got there, yes, Daryl's heart had stopped. There was paramedics there, and he was on the stretcher, and there's just her husband, and they were wheeling him away, and she was, at my feet crying.
Mm-hmm.
And as I lift her up, I say in her ear, "Find the peace."
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, she says to me that those three words were exactly what she needed to hear,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she she was able to compose herself as a result
right.
of
Yeah,
those.
it's we don't know what each one of our gifts are going to be.
Yeah,
David has been given his gift this way.
yeah,
Tom is the channeler. Every single
yes,
one of us has a different gift. You've found yours,
yes,
I found mine.
yes.
It is not for me to question the messages that come. It is for
No,
me just to speak them. That is the
yeah,
knowingness. I knew, when we got this phone call early in the morning that her brother was on his way to the hospital. I knew that was it, and I knew I had to
yeah,
prepare her. And then it came up an hour or so later. He's
right.
gone, and I actually do have people who call me when they lose someone, because I know what to say. And it's not me,
Yes,
it's not Sara. It's
yeah,
just whatever is within me. It knows what to say at that
that's
time.
right. That's
And
right.
the thing is, every single one of us has something in it. It's not like we're not trying to be
Yes,
Oprah's or David's or this or
absolutely.
that. What
That's right.
is in you
That's
that is
right.
a
Every
gift to
one
other
of you is
people?
a medium. Every
Yes.
one of you is a psychic.
Yeah.
Every one of you is a channeler. I never knew how to channel or what channeling was. And after one workshop at Astro,
Yeah.
now when I pick up a pen and just go within, I start writing.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
every single one of us has that ability in us.
Yes. And allow it. I always go back to
And yes,
allow.
allow it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
step out of intellectualism of it. I need to understand this. I had a friend
Yeah.
like that, and he drove me crazy. Every single day, we took the dog for a walk, and it would be, but I need to understand this. I'm a conduit. Why did it get to me? And
Yes.
I said, it is a gift. Will you shut up and just use it? And now he does. He's an
Yes.
amazing healer, and he's really finally embraced it. But he was driving me crazy there in the beginning, because I need to understand. I said, no. All you need to understand is how to use it, not why you were given it.
And that is the left brain, right brain divide, right?
Yeah.
you know, the more logical you are, the more mathematical you are,
Yes.
the
Well,
less
I'm
less
definitely
you're
not
able to.
mathematical, that's for sure.
Well, I think I've been blessed because I'm mathematical and spiritual, but I
Right.
will say that as my spiritual and right brain faculties have opened up, my left brain tends to want to be, um, what's the word, lazy,
Yes, less dominant.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like, why are we talking about these numbers? Just focus.
yeah, exactly. I'm a complete non-academic. I mean, none of
Yes,
my knowledge it comes from academic. Out of 12 years of schooling, I only had 6 because I was a very
right.
sickly child, and I left
Yes,
school after a certain point because I missed so much. There was never any hope of catching up. So everything I've learned is intuitive intellect. It's soul, heart, and spirit intellect, and
yes,
trusting that knowingness and learning from that, learning from the experience, what connects, what sticks, and we know again where we sell ourselves so short by labeling ourselves, by limiting ourselves, by trying to live up to an illusion and an expectation. And if we let that go, like you let it go and you decided just to allow, take your journey, explore, you read all about it,
yeah,
right? And then it was, well, this is fine that I'm reading this, but I've got to practice this now. I've got to step into actionism.
yeah,
And then you were willing to experience it. But if you're not willing to be open, that free will to
yes,
be open and going for the experience, and there may be some anxiety because it's unknown, but the
yes,
willingness to experience the unknown
yes.
in trust, that's when
Hmm.
you really start opening up. And you've done that, and your journey is quite extraordinary. And this is where you are now.
Thank the Lord. I'm very grateful for my every life experience.
Mhm.
No regrets, as you know, I've had regrets at the time when
Yes,
those things happened, but now looking back, I have no regrets
right.
because they've all been experiences that have created growth in my life.
Mhm.
And that growth has led to new beautiful experiences and new beautiful people entering my life and new beautiful surroundings. And you know, I would have never met you, Sarah, if it wasn't for Astral Connection.
Exactly, exactly. And I know it's been a number of years since we reconnected, but the signature is no different.
No.
As soon as we was, right back in it, right, right. And we just got to make sure we don't leave it another 10 years.
Yes,
But each one of us has been on our own individual journey of growth. And now is a good time to come back and share that growth.
absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for this
Oh, my
connection.
pleasure. But how do people get hold of you? How do they get hold of David's program?
Oh,
Where do people find you now?
um, the best place to probably find me right now is I've had some technical drama, we'll call it, in my life, and so my website is struggling and my online entity is struggling. But you can email me simply at shahiroz@gmail.com.
Will you spell that, please, love, for people who don't know how
Yes,
to spell your name?
absolutely. S is in Sam, H is in Harry, A is in Apple, H is in Harry, I is in India, R is in Robert, O is in October, and Z is in Zebra at gmail.com. And you can find me on Facebook as Shahiroz Walji. My last name is Walji. And you can call me, text me at 778-386-1786. As for David Sarita, he has one website. All other websites that lead to him aren't his. DavidSarita.co. So it's davidsarita.co, not .com, but .co. And feel free to reach out to me. And when you reach davidsarita.co, you'll probably find me or get in
Right.
touch with me
You're the gatekeeper
anyways.
there. Yeah.
That's right. I look forward to talking to all of you and connecting with all of you on an astral level and on a
Yes.
right
Even
here
even it's
physical
just to
level.
reach out and have a chat. If you've got a connection
Absolutely.
here, you'd like to know more, and
Absolutely. Feel
you
free.
don't know how David things fits into your life, but just you're inquiring, and inquiry
Yes.
minds want to know. So
Absolutely. And David's an amazing, amazing individual. You can also, when you go to the website, if you click on the Learn More section, that's where we have all our videos of him teaching about his products. Um, our website is quite unique in that when you go to it, if you peruse the different pages, every page has a little video or a little audio
Hmm.
where he's telling something about the product. So don't, it's not just one page.
Yeah.
Explore the website, get to know it, become familiar with it. It's quite organic, and hopefully that relationship will be will be something that enhances your life and your journey as well.
Opening up your
You
own
can also find
frequency.
me on YouTube. You can
Yeah.
find me on YouTube as Astral Connections probably, or just Shahiroz Walji, and feel free to find me
And you're
there.
also on LinkedIn too, under Shahiroz.
Yes, and I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. And just want to also add that Sarah's interview I did many years back
Mhm.
is on YouTube, and you can
Yes.
find it there, and you can have a feel for um, Sara then and Sara now, and you'll the signature that she talks about. It's the very same
Yeah,
signature.
it
It
is.
truly
I
is.
am what I am. I've just evolved a little bit, but the core of me is the same. And I think that's one of the important things in life. What is your core? Everything else is an expansion of that. It is, I consider myself this willow tree, very deep rooted, good,
Yes,
strong, sturdy trunk, but my branches are constantly swaying and
yes,
constantly growing. And I think that's your core. Keep your
yes,
core grounded and keep your core solid, but allow yourself to branch out and to grow and to explore. And the core of me has not changed, no. Nor has it with you either. It's just
no.
grown. It's just
Yeah,
grown.
I'm still Shahiroz, and I'm still that same person back then that I was
Yeah.
now. At least I feel like I
Happier though.
am.
I could feel happier now than when you were right then, because you
Oh,
were
thank
in the
you.
transition at that time. So
Yes.
I can feel a lot, you're where you're meant to be now, doing what you're meant to be doing.
You know, it's really interesting. Back then, I was told by a psychic that your future is going to be with sound healing. And
Mm,
back then, I used to think it was, well, how is that? Because I don't have any sound healing modality in my bag of tricks, for lack of a better word. I sing, and I sing in a choir, and I sing, and I love singing, and it
hmm.
really is a big joy. Maybe that's what it is. But now I realize it's David Sarita, his
Yeah.
frequency devices. They're magical. I mean, my very first experience and my very last experience with his devices is magical, and I urge every one of you to explore his website.
Yeah. And I'm a huge person on frequency and on sound. When I get I don't right
Well,
now.
Bill, right?
Yeah, it's a healing thing for me emotionally, because if I step into anxiety or depression, it's music, and it's not the words, and it's not, the beat of the music. I look for the
Yes,
music that is very rhythmic, and
yes,
it changes my frequency up in my whole body, it
right.
resets me. So, sound therapy, is so important, because what
It's
it's
so
doing
important.
is going
And
into the frequency in your body and resetting you, where that you just simply can't do it yourself.
and the uniqueness of David Sarita's products is you're not going to hear anything.
Yes, but your body
The
is,
sound
your
is going to
psyche is.
travel
Yeah,
through the
yeah,
devices, and you're going to meditate.
yeah,
You're going to be in your place of calm and experience it.
yeah,
And I'd love to hear it, your experiences, when you experience them, if and when you ever embark on this journey.
yeah, yeah. And the proof is in the pudding. It's not like, well, did it work? Did it work? It's just allow it to immerse itself through the body, keep using it, and you will see how your life will change. We're all
Absolutely.
busy looking for results. That downloaded app, is it instant? Is it happening? No, everything takes its own process and its own time. The more you resist, the more difficult it is. The more you're open to it, the quicker it can help. So it's up to us. It's always up to us, isn't it?
And breathe.
And breathe. Yes. Don't go through, oh, I'm holding your breath. Yes. Which we all do now and again. Yes. Breathe, let it out, breathe it in. Because that is not just literally the breath of life, but it is the frequency and the vibration of life too in your breath. So
And all these lessons Sarah and I bring to you, breathing,
mm,
letting go,
mm,
we're all lessons that we receive from someone else in our lives at
yes,
one time. And so
Exactly.
we're able to bring it to you. And one day you are going to give that
Right.
lesson to someone
Right.
else.
That's sharing the knowledge. That's exactly what self-discovery media is all about, sharing the knowledge, inspiring for invitation. When you inspire somebody else by your story, you're inviting them to take their own journey. And,
Absolutely.
you know, that's the best teachers are those that have gone through the process.
Yes.
And because you can relate to them. And then it's like, that is of interest to me. It's piquing me. I want to know more. Right.
Mhm.
So
Right.
all we do out here is give you the music. It's up to you how you tune in.
Absolutely.
And I have been on your show recently, which will be coming out when, so I can let people know.
I it's ready. I just want you to check it out before I post it, just in
Okay.
case there's anything
Go
more.
with it, love. It's any faux
Okay.
pas, they're faux pas. Just, I'm an organic person, so just put it out
Okay.
there.
Same here. Same here. Wonderful.
All
So
right.
it's ready. You should see it in the next couple of days. I sent you the link already.
Excellent. Wonderful. Good. So, and I will obviously add that link to your show posting here as well,
Thank
so
you.
people can catch it as well. And,
Absolutely.
it's that, life is about sharing. It is about those beautiful energies coming together, because when those energies come together, I always say, what is your instrument in life? Once you've learned to play it, find your orchestra. And when you get together with any other energies, it's the other orchestras. Whether it's a band, a group, or an orchestra, it's about sharing and
Yes.
elevating that experience. And that's really where the authority of life is. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
It's been wonderful having you on here.
Thank you, Sarah. It's always fun when I connect with you, and it always feels like we pick up where we left
Yeah,
off.
exactly. And we have to physically see each other soon. We're let out of our cages.
Virtual hug for now.
Yes, hug, hug. Definitely. And to everyone else out there, please, it's let it go, let it go, let it go. Step into the knowingness. Take those deep breaths. Allow things to come to you. Don't preconceive, don't judge, don't demand, and just experience, because truly and utterly, that's what life is all about.
That's right.
Yeah. Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.